Why are weddings so expensive, and how can you make sure yours doesn't end up costing the earth? Stay tuned. Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. This is toBe TV, the place to be if you are planning your wedding. Now, my light is very, very bright. However, it is that time of year and everything is getting a little bit colder and a little bit darker. So by the time I get home in the afternoon, it's already too dark to film in natural light. So I've had to get my light out, which is very, very bright. So I might see if I can get another diffuser on it and lower it a little bit. But today we are talking about how expensive weddings are, why they're so expensive, and we're just going to look at a few areas where it could be really expensive for you, but alternatives that mean that it wouldn't necessarily be as expensive as you might think. So we've all read the magazines. You get the wedding magazine when you get engaged and you look through, and they always have a budget in there and explain to you how everything's broken down, but they don't necessarily go through how to research and how to make sure you're getting the best bang for your buck, and how to make sure that you're finding the person that is at the right price point for you. I've got a few points that I've written down, so if you keep seeing me look down, I'm just making sure I'm covering my points. The first thing I wanted to talk about was the fact that some people just try to do everything. They try to have the most luxurious transport, the best entertainment. They don't want the guests to have a moment of downtime, so they've got people walking around during cocktail hour to entertain them. Then they've got the band. They might have a DJ as well as a band. They have the full sit-down meal, and everything is just everything, like the best of the best of the best. And that can add up, and you don't need all of that. I'm very much a believer, and if you are like me and you believe that your wedding is about celebrating the love between you and your future husband, future wife, then don't need all of this stuff. And it's only one day, and yes, we want it to be beautiful, and you can make it beautiful, but you do not need to spend a down payment on a house or the cost of a new car. Like, it just seems crazy to me, and it does add up. And the reason is because obviously we have inflation, so prices go up. These vendors, especially if they're independent vendors, are trying to support their families on their income, so they are going to charge what they require to do that. So there are these factors. However, people wouldn't be able to charge these prices if people weren't paying those prices. You are worth what somebody is willing to pay for your services, and to some degree there is that you know, if there is only people out there that are going to cost you £3,000, then everybody will have to pay for somebody who costs £3,000 to photograph their wedding, for instance. But there isn't. There's always going to be somebody cheaper than that. And there's always going to be people that are good but charge a fair rate. There are going to be people that are come from two-income households, for instance, that don't need to charge the full sort of quota of what a wedding photography situation might be. So they don't need to charge that much. So they would charge less than somebody else. It doesn't mean they're any less good at their job. And this is where the research comes in, and this is why you need to know the background and what to be looking for, which is what I hope this channel is helping you do, to find those red flags and to make sure that you're doing your research accurately, so that you do only pay what you're comfortable with and you get the best service you can for that money. So don't try and do everything. We've spoken before about the need for transportation, and if you have a all-in-one venue, how you can cut that cost straight away. If you're having evening entertainment, you don't need to have a DJ and a band. You choose one or the other. You know, you're going to save yourself money right there. If you've got a band that can also put a DJ set on, okay, fair enough. You don't need to have entertainers going round during cocktail hour or during dinner. I've been to weddings where there's been people going round whilst you're eating, drawing cartoons of you, which, I mean, the cartoons were brilliant, don't get me wrong, and I'm definitely looking at having him at my wedding because I thought they were amazing and he was so quick. But you don't need to have these things, and you certainly don't need to have them going on while people are eating their dinner. They don't need to be entertained while they're eating. So just be a little bit more strategic about where you're spending your money and what the process of your day is going to be. Next, somewhere else that can add up and make the wedding more expensive is the sit-down meal. Now, it is traditional, obviously, to have the full sit-down meal, but you don't have to have the full sit-down, You don't have to have the full sit-down meal. If you want to be served dinner, and I'm one of these people that I prefer to have my dinner served to me if I'm paying for it, then by all means, but there are other areas that you can cut back in. If you aren't fussed about having a sit-down meal, you could do buffet or hog roast, barbecue, that kind of thing, where people go up and get their own food. It's going to be cheaper. And the reason it's cheaper is because usually it's not 3 courses. You don't have a starter buffet, a mains buffet and a dessert buffet. You just have your mains and then there's a dessert table, or you just do the cake or whatever. And also you're not paying for the service. So there is a service charge attached to the cost of the price per head. So if the meal is for, say, £40 per head for a 3-course meal, you're paying for the meal. You're paying for obviously the profit margin within that. You're also paying for the staff that are needed to serve that meal. Now, if you're not having a sit-down dinner, the company you're using won't need to hire as many staff because they can have 1 or 2 stood behind a buffet table to help out, rather than 4 or 5 making sure that the meal's coming out and that you're all getting your starter in good time. So they save on staffing costs when you go for a buffet option. So that's why you find that, for instance, you can have a £40 a head 3-course meal, but you could pay £15 a head for a barbecue. It's just not as much work for them, so they don't charge you as much for it. So that's kind of self-explanatory, and that's a way that you can bring down the cost of your wedding. Next, I wanted to talk about bridal shops versus outlet shops. So if you have a specific designer in mind, a specific dress, and you know what you want, and you're gonna have to go to a bridal shop to get it because it's this season's dress or whatever, then that's your choice. You can save in other areas. But if you don't know what you're going to be walking down the aisle in, if you're not sure, then outlet wedding dress shops, and there's one in Leicester I know of because that's near to me, are a great option. So you're going to find that dresses are cheaper there, and you're going to find a greater variety of dresses than you do in a bridal shop. So it depends on what you're like. I'm not a big fan of going clothes shopping. I hate clothes shopping. So to me, the idea of going to several different bridal shops and trying on all these dresses freaks me out. I want a lot of choice because I'm not sure what I want, but I do not want to have to be traipsing around to several. I don't want to have to take weekends and weekends and weekends to get my dress. So an outlet shop, you're still going to have beautiful dresses, they're just not going to cost as much as a bridal shop. You can also go for pre-loved dresses, depending on how you feel about that. I'm not fussed. At the end of the day, these people only wore the dress once. As long as it's in good condition and as long as it suits me and suits my style and is what I'm looking for, I'm quite happy to pay a heck of a lot less for a dress that was worn by another bride. It doesn't bother me. So there's another way that you can save money so that you can still get an absolutely stunningly beautiful dress that suits you, but you don't have to waste all that time or a lot of money. And wedding dresses are expensive, and we know why they're expensive. There is a lot of expensive material involved. There is a lot of intricate detail involved in a lot of them. The tulle, the beads, the pearls, the crystals, you know, the lace, it all costs money, and somebody's got to put that together. So they are a little bit more specialised than your average evening dress. So the cost is understandable, but again, you don't have to absolutely spend a fortune on your wedding dress. Vendor choice. Now, we've spoken a little bit about this through the other areas, but vendor choices is another area. If you just Google best photographer, best cake maker or whatever in your area and you go straight for that person, you're probably going to pay more than you need to for your wedding photography, your cake, etc. So it is really important to do your research. You do not have to spend the most amount of money possible on an area to get the best. I have access to a local cake maker. She's recently graduated college doing it. Her Instagram is flawless. Her cakes are stunning. I have a friend who's tried them and promises me that they're good. I will obviously try some before I buy a wedding cake, but she did a wedding cake this past weekend and it was stunning, and I was like, I am definitely keeping her on my list of cake makers to go to for my wedding cake, because she's a little independent business. It's not going to cost as much as if I went to a bakery, and she's up and coming. So if I get married in the next year or two, she's probably going to cost a lot less to me than she's going to cost in 5-10 years when she's really, really well established and has got a lot larger client base where she can't physically make all these cakes for these people. So she's got to up her prices so that she can make less cakes but earn more money. So you've got to start looking at vendors now, whether you're engaged or you're not quite there but you know that's where you're heading. Start looking at vendors now. Who do you like? What are their prices? What are they compared to other people? And start looking at those kind of things and seeing exactly what it is that you like and where that price point is, and then you're going to have a better idea of what your wedding is going to cost. Because at the end of the day, your wedding doesn't have to be really expensive, but it is mainly down to your choices of your vendors and who you choose. But you've got to do your research to make sure that you're getting the best bang for your buck. The other thing to look at is accessories. That's another area where prices can start to really creep up. So I know for me personally, I've always wanted a designer pair of shoes to walk down the aisle to. This is something that I always wanted, and now I'm thinking, what were you thinking? I mean, they're likely to be white and you're never going to wear them again. So why on earth would you spend £350 on a pair of Jimmy Choos or whatever to walk down the aisle to and then never wear them again? So my thought is, if I am going to go designer for my wedding shoes, because I still kind of really want to, they've got to be coloured. They've got to be something that I can wear again. They've got to be something that I just fall in love with and say, these are gorgeous and I'm going to wear them again. And then it's worth it because you'll get your money's worth out of it. If you just want some wedding shoes that are white, then just go for some pretty shoes that you like that aren't designer, because they're going to be cheaper. I had a wedding, I think it was 2014, and Tara was the bride, and she had 3 pairs of wedding shoes. One of them was a pair of wedding wellies, which were really cool. They were silver glittery jelly wellies, because she got married at Soulgrave Manor, and it was in November, so it was a bit muddy. So she got them so that she could walk around, and it did rain on her wedding day, and she had these beautiful little shoes that she'd got peacock grips on, and then I think she had flip-flops for the evening. So she had 3 different pairs of shoes, but I can guarantee that they didn't even come to the cost of 1 pair of designer shoes. So, you know, it's all down to what you choose. So weddings are expensive and they can be extremely expensive, but it's really down to what you choose, who you choose, how much research you do before you book somebody. So just make sure that you're doing your due diligence, and you should find that you can actually bring the cost of your wedding down by quite a lot. So that's it for this week. I hope the video helped. If it did, then please give it a thumbs up. If it didn't, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe so you don't miss any of my future videos, and I hope to see you next week. Bye for now.